Welcome back to the Davy Brown 990 Restoration. For those of you new, my name's Barry. Today we're going to do a couple of little jobs we're going to need to get caught up on. One, we need to assemble the hubs into the arms for the front axle so we can get this bit of the tractor ready. We need to start and get all four corners ready. As you've seen, we've done the final drives, and I have off camera, I have done the second final drive. It's ready to go on. The reasons are quite simple. Once those final drives go on, the wheels have to go on and the tractor has to come up here, and we've got to try and get it into this garage. And that has to happen all in the same day. So we have to do front end on, front wheels on, rear end on, including the diff locks got to go in. So rear end on, wheels on, and then transport it up here and get it put into storage up here. Which is no mean task, I tell you. Especially in the winter when we're short of daylight and the weather's crap. But that's the reality of it. We have to get this moved in one day to get it up here. Now, that's why we have to assemble the front beams, so we can quickly and easily, when we get the tractor outside down at home, slide everything in, get the wheels on, get the front supports off. Then we move to the back and we get the back on. And there's a lot of logistics to do because the engine crane's got to be moved, everything. But along the way, I've told you a couple of times, when I went to take these off, there was only 4 bolts keeping each one on. 4 of these, 4 bolts. Now, for each final drive, there is supposed to be 8 bolts and 4 studs. Just quickly whizzing the nuts off this. These are the studs. The 4 studs fit in the 4 topmost holes on that attachment to the tractor, and it's so you can put the mud guard on, right? Because you can't put the mud guard on and then get the bolt in because there is not enough space, so it has to be studs. I had 4 studs. I've acquired 4 studs from Colin and my big bucket of bolts, but I need 4 more for the other side. So what I've ordered is 4 3-inch, 1/2-inch UNC bolts, hex head bolts, and I've ground the heads off on an offhand grinder so they become cylindrical, and I'm putting a lovely big generous chamfer on the top of there. We are going to whiz a 1/2-inch UNC thread down here so they match up as best they can with that, and we're going to Loctite them into the flange on the attachment face of the final drives today. Right, I'm sorry guys if my head's not in the shot here. We're flying blind at the minute. I didn't bring my phone with us, so I cannot see what those cameras are seeing, other than look through the little screen at the back, but then you cannot see where you're standing, can you? Never mind. Right, so let's get on and get one of these jobs, and we're going to do these first. We're going to whiz the threads down, get them into position, then we're going to put all this together, put the bell cranks on. We've got the bell cranks here. Put the bell cranks on, get them ready to install on the tractor. Right, let's crack on. Bit of grease, stud, bag of nuts. Something good and strong, keeping hold of the threads. Put that in the vise. As upright as we wonky eyes can get it. Put a smidgen of grease on it. Okay. Got to pop this into the lathe. Now you can see why you need a big vise. Right, let's have a second check for length. That's good enough, isn't it? That's good enough. So we're back out the middle screw and you tighten the two edge screws, and what that does, it closes the die up, and you'll see now the gap here at the top's actually shut. So that'll cut it again. Second bit going down. Cut it again. There we go. You can feel that cutting straight away. Acid test. Does my nuts fit? Okay. One done. Let's look for a comparison. What I'm going to do with these, I'm going to put two of these ones and two of the ones I got off Colin into each hub. Not that far away, are we? Okay. Right, I'm going to crack on. I'll get other three of these done, and then we'll come back when we're putting them into the hubs. Back in a minute. Right, let's move on to our front hubs and beams. We've got here 4 new O-rings, 2-inch ID, and they're to go top and bottom. They fit onto the shoulder. I'll show you in a minute. They fit onto the shoulder of the hub. We have got 2 new thrust washers to go in the bottom. Right, let's have a little talk about what we've done here, because these were all done before we started the video series. So, in the arms, the bushes were pulled out and it was rebushed. Then it had to be reamed to fit the shafts. So in order to ream the bushes out to fit the shaft, you need an adjustable reamer. H14 is the size you need. This is not obviously an H14. This is an H57, and the range of this reamer is 15/16 to 1 1/16 of an inch, because by moving the flutes up the reamer you expand the reamer. What else you need as well is a pilot. The pilot screws onto the bottom end of the reamer like that to extend it, and you've got here your centralizer, because when you feed that through the hole, you put your centralizer on the bottom there and you push it up into the hole, and that keeps the reamer in line with the shaft, because there's a bush at the bottom and a bush at the top. If you didn't do that, there is the opportunity for you to ream like that, but with the pilot on and the centralizer, that keeps everything in line. Okay, then what you do, you start off so that you can have your reamer halfway through the bush before you start reaming. So you pop it in, do some adjustments so it just touches, pop it back out, turn it a couple of turns, then tighten the bottom one up, pop it back in, put your centralizer on into position, and Deb kept mine in position for me, but you can get a plate just to go on the bottom, couple of elastic bungees round your bit which will pull that up into the middle, keep everything located. Ream it out till you get to the top, take it back out, couple of turns on, do it again. Repeat till you get that to be a really lovely snug fit into your bushes. Now, bushes, just put this away. Okay, bushes. With the shoulder cut off here, this is the right hand beam. The left hand, for whatever reason, has got a straight side, but this one is the right hand beam. With the wheel, with the hub and the shaft coming through this way, the pressure on the top bush is forward. The pressure on the back bush is backwards, because the wheel is wanting to twist, isn't it? These bushes are split. Now, with the top bush, put the split in at the back, and with the bottom one, put the split in at the front, so that you're not putting pressure onto that already weakened area of the bush. When you knock these out, you will find it's incredibly difficult to see the split once they're in, because you knock them in and they go really tight, and it's incredibly difficult to see the split. But we've got new bushes, top and bottom, been reamed out. In my hub, God almighty, in my hub, again, as I say, I apologise for it, but it was done before the video series started. In the hub, I'll see if I've got some still images of this. New bearings, new seal, everything cleaned out. Right, so it was stripped completely, everything was took out of it, it was cleaned up, as you can see, wire wheeled, undercoated. It was then new bearings front and back, and a new seal in the back. Then we'll give it a coat of paint. So, let's have a look. This is a right hand side one. I've got one nut, a large washer off the top. These are old thrust washers. As you can see, they've seen better days. Hence we ordered 2 new thrust washers. 4 new 2-inch O-rings. One goes on the collar at this end. The other one goes around the collar at this end. Right, let's get our O-rings greased up and in place, A little bit EP2 on it. Into position. Some of these, the newer models, shall we say, I believe have actually got roller thrust ball bearing thrust bearings in the bottom. Okay. Let's bring that to the edge of the table, eh? See if we can get a bit of grease. Slap a bit of grease on it. Get a thrust bearing. Or a thrust washer, I think it's probably more true to say. Pop that on. Put loads of grease onto that. I've got a grease nipple on the tube. Right. As I say, we're getting to the point where we are very, very close to putting the wheels back on this thing. There we go. Now, right hand side, get a bit of grease around the top on my faces there. Right hand side gets the single bell crank on it. This one. Then I should have cut the top off that tube, shouldn't I? Then we'll get our thrust washer and our big bolt, and it goes together. This is going to take some degreasing to get painted, isn't it, eh? Right. Okay, let's get this tightened in. Right, let's see. No, I shouldn't. Oh dear. Okay. Happy with that. You can see where my bubble wrap's been on the paint job. It's been in storage that long. Right. So there we go. Now, what I've got as well here, where are they? Wheel studs. Pop all this together. Keep everything in one place. Just easier, isn't it? Keep all your toys in one box. Now when you come to put them together, everything should be there. These will get a degreasing of paint as well, finally, when they get finished. Okay, that's that one done. Now let's get on and we'll do the other side. Get the other one done just the same, nice and tight. Let's just give it one more check. Nice and tight. Arm number 2. And you see here what I mean? This has got a straight end. This is the left hand side. So this gets the double bell crank on. Tell you what, let's orientate this the right way. So we'll put the bell crank on, it goes on in the right way. Okay. O-rings. One on there. Get my hub assembly. Again, exactly the same on this one. This has had new bearings, new seals put in. Everything took to bits, thoroughly cleaned. And I tell you what, mate, when you go to clean the inside of this, it is a bloody nightmare because it's very cavernous and it's full of grease and it just takes forever and ever. Plenty of grease. Pop that on there, put the grease, what's left of the grease onto the faces. Bit of grease in the bushes. Okay, whoops a diddles. That inset there is what sits over the top of that O-ring in there. We'll put a bit of grease in there. Can't have too much grease in this case, can you? Well, you can, it'll just squeeze out. Not make a blind bit of difference. Bell crank, number 2. Right, this one, let's get it the right way around to start with. This one goes on like that. Because this is the receiver for the steering arm, and this is the transmitter to the opposite side bell crank. Get some of the old good oils on there. I like a bit of grease, me. And you never know. You never know when you're going to take this to bits again, do you? Hopefully never. But somebody will be taking it to bits some point in the future. So you do them a little bit of a favour. fat. There you go. Right. That's what left hand done. Let's get some wheel studs for that. Whoa. Now then, there's another O-ring. I bet that was the old O-ring out of there that I just kept for size. Put my wheel studs in. And there we go. Another one done. Another little job sorted. So as I say, what we've got left to do now, we have got to, in one day, right? In one day, we have to install these axles, put the front wheels on, put the linkages on, across the tractor, back to the steering box, get the steering wheel set. Diff lock needs to go in. The other day, I did a little job on the diff lock, the mechanism, because it suffered, and I'll show you this in a later video, it suffered a little bit of damage from people just standing on the pedal and grinding it till it gets in. So I shaped up a little grinding stone for the Dremel, and I just chamfered that off all the edges and tidied it up so there is no sharp edges, and there's nice lead-ins on all the flutes and the teeth. So the diff lock's ready to go in. So that's diff lock needs to go in, and I've got a little bit of a bet going on with Campbell here as to how many attempts it takes to get this in. So diff lock in, final drive's on, left hand side has already got the seal carrier in, right hand side needs a seal carrier in, needs brake shoes on, and it needs the right hand side final drive putting in. Then it all needs bolted up. Then we need to put rear wheels on. Then it needs to be put on a trailer and brought up here. And hopefully we can get it into this garage without too much trouble. Right guys, thank you very much for joining us. That's it for today. Just a few little tidy up jobs. I know nothing special, nothing important, but a few tidy up jobs. And I think it was important to talk to you about how we use the adjustable reamers with the pilots and the centralizers in order to keep, so you can ream those bushes out in line with each other and get things to fit nicely. Also, where the split lies for those bearings, those bushes rather, for those bushes, so that it can go back together and the pressure is on a solid piece of metal and not on a split. Right guys, as I say, thank you very much for joining us. As always, your time's greatly appreciated. But remember, don't overthink it. It's only nuts and bolts. And we'll catch you in another one, not so far in the future. See you in the next one. Bye bye now.